Welcome to our deep dive into all things tech. It's February 27th, 2025. And, well, to say things are moving fast is an understatement, I think. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to get through today, sources on everything from Apple's new iPhone strategy to, even a potential AI energy crisis. So, yeah, if you're ready to explore the cutting edge with us, let's just dive right in.
It's funny. When we talk about an energy crisis, most people think of, those long lines at gas stations, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But the thing is, with AI, it's a totally different kind of fuel that's causing all this concern.
Oh, that's interesting. So what are we talking about here? What's the issue?
Well, did you know that data centers could actually be using something like 12% of all U.S. power by 2028?
Wow, 12%.
Which is, yeah, I know, crazy, right? That's more than triple what they used just a few years ago.
That is a shocking statistic. It makes you wonder, I mean, are we heading towards a future where all of our AI runs on, like, coal or something?
Well, not if these tech giants have anything to say about it. And you know what's interesting? It's that this whole energy crunch is actually pushing them to be super innovative, like incredibly innovative. They're investing tons of money in alternative energy sources. And some of the solutions, I gotta say, are pretty darn ingenious.
Okay, so spill the beans. What are they doing?
All right, well, one example that really jumps out is this hydrogen-powered data center that ECL is building down in Mountain View, California.
Okay.
And get this, what's really smart about it is that it's a closed-loop system. They're actually using the water that's produced as a byproduct of the hydrogen power to cool the data center.
Oh, wow.
Pretty efficient, right?
So they're basically getting double the bang for their buck by using that byproduct.
Yeah.
That's clever.
Yeah, very clever.
What about other approaches to hydrogen? Is anyone tackling that, like in different ways?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. ECL is also using what they're calling turquoise hydrogen for their data centers down in Texas. And basically, it's this way to bridge the gap between the blue hydrogen, which is more available right now, and the ultimate goal of getting to 100% green hydrogen.
Oh, okay.
So it's a smart move, especially as they're, scaling up their operations.
Yeah, definitely a pragmatic way to move towards those greener solutions, right? But still meeting, those huge energy demands.
Exactly.
Are there any other energy sources that are, like, making a comeback in this AI-powered world? Anything else that we should be looking at?
Well, you might be surprised to hear that nuclear power is actually back on the table.
Really?
Yeah, but we're not talking about those massive, old school nuclear plants that everyone pictures. These companies like Last Energy and Oklo are developing something called small modular reactors, or SMRs.
SMRs, okay.
Yeah, they're designed to be way smaller, more efficient, and you can actually put them right next to data centers.
So, like, localized almost.
Exactly, yeah.
I have to admit, nuclear power always makes me a little bit nervous.
I understand. It's got a bit of a reputation. But what's really fascinating is that there are actually two main types of nuclear technology being developed right now. So there's fission, which is what powers current nuclear plants. But then there's fusion, which is like, the energy of the sun.
Okay.
That's got the potential to be incredibly powerful, and it produces very little waste.
That sounds promising for sure.
Yeah.
Is that the technology that, like, Helion is working on?
Exactly. And what's really interesting here is that Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, he's actually involved in both Oklo, which is focused on fission, and Helion, which is pursuing fusion.
Wow. Okay.
So it seems like he's, hedging his bets on the future of nuclear power.
He's a smart guy, so yeah, makes sense. So we've got all these, like, innovative startups, but what about the big guys? Are companies like Microsoft, are they getting in on the nuclear action?
They are, and in a pretty unexpected way, Microsoft is actually restarting a mothballed nuclear plant on 3 Mile Island.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's a bold move, especially considering, the history there, but it shows just how serious they are about finding a sustainable energy solution.
Yeah, for sure. It's like they're really trying to turn the page, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it seems like every corner of the energy sector is getting a makeover thanks to AI. What about renewables? Are things like, geothermal energy getting a boost from all this?
Absolutely. Geothermal is definitely having a moment. Google, for example, they're partnering with Fervo Energy to power their data centers in Nevada using, the heat from the Earth's core.
Oh, wow.
And it's incredibly consistent, geothermal, and Fervo, they've actually developed some super innovative drilling techniques to make it even more accessible.
So tapping into the Earth's natural heat to power our AI, huh? Pretty cool. Makes sense, though. What about solar power? I feel like that would be a pretty, like, natural fit for data centers, too.
Oh, solar is definitely part of the picture, but storing that energy, that's always been the big challenge.
Right.
And that's where a company called Exawatt comes in. They've actually developed a system that uses these thermal batteries to store solar energy as heat. So it's kind of like a giant thermos,
Ooh, I like that analogy.
keeps the sun's energy, nice and ready to use.
It seems like this whole AI energy crisis is actually like sparking a global race for clean energy
I
solutions.
think you're right.
It's almost like AI is, forcing us to finally get our act together when it comes to sustainability.
It's definitely a catalyst for change, that's for sure. And we can't forget about China's role in this, in this whole race.
Right?
They're investing a ton in nuclear fusion research, and they've been making some seriously impressive breakthroughs.
Speaking of China, their entry into the AI game has been, well, it's been pretty disruptive, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about DeepSeek, the
Yeah.
AI model that just seemed to like appear out of nowhere.
DeepSeek has been a total game changer, and reportedly, it was developed in just a few months for less than $6 million.
Oh, really?
Which is like a tiny fraction of what, U.S. companies have been pouring into AI development. What's so fascinating about it is that it really challenges that assumption that you need, massive computing power to create better AI.
It's incredible how quickly they were able to, develop it and get it out there. And the impact on the market has been pretty crazy, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. NVIDIA, for instance, saw a $600 billion drop in market value. And across the entire AI and tech sector, we've seen losses of over $1 trillion.
That's wild. I mean, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around that. Just one AI model causing like such massive waves.
Yeah.
But honestly, what really caught my attention was the fact that DeepSeek is open source.
That's right. Developers around the world, they can access the code, adapt it, use it, which, is a pretty big shift from the more closed approach that we've seen from a lot of US companies.
Yeah, definitely.
Raises some big questions about who's ultimately going to be controlling the development of AI.
It really throws a wrench into the plans of companies like OpenAI,
Yeah.
right? Who have been working on their own big AI project, this thing called Stargate.
Yeah, Stargate's gotten a ton of attention, especially with, Trump's endorsement and the involvement of these big tech giants like Oracle and SoftBank. It's a very centralized vision for AI, focusing on creating this single super powerful system. But DeepSeek, with it being open source, it's like a completely different path.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if maybe a more decentralized and collaborative approach to AI development might actually win out in the end.
It's a fascinating question and definitely one that I'll be keeping an eye on. Now, speaking of shaking things up, have you seen what Apple's been doing with their iPhone strategy lately?
Oh yeah, they've been making some interesting moves, especially with the introduction of that iPhone 16 and then all the rumors about the upcoming iPhone 17.
It seems like they're trying out this new approach where they're releasing a more affordable e-model, alongside their flagship iPhones every year.
Right.
Kind of similar to what Google's been doing with their Pixel A phones. They're offering a budget-friendly option without sacrificing too many features.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how this plays out, especially with those rumors that we might not even get a Plus model for the iPhone 17.
Yeah, I think the success of the iPhone 16 is really gonna determine what happens with that whole E line. Kind of like how sales figures dictated what happened with the mini iPhones.
Right.
Apple's always been good at adapting to the market, so I wouldn't be surprised if they change things up based on how those E models sell.
So is this the end of the road for the iPhone SE? Is the E series going to be their new budget phone?
It's tough to say for sure, but I think the signs are pointing in that direction. The iPhone SE has always had a pretty unpredictable release schedule, right? Whereas the E model seems to be settling into this yearly cycle.
Yeah, that's true.
If they can offer, a really great experience at a lower price, they might just have a winning formula.
All right, before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, I want to quickly touch on a couple other things that caught my eye.
Sure.
One's about uh, one's about robots with superhuman vision, and then the other is this really strange iPhone glitch.
Okay, let's hear it.
So first, we've got this incredible robotic vision system called Panoradar. And basically, it uses a combination of radar and AI to see through, things like smoke, rain, even around corners.
Wow, that's incredible. So what kind of What kind of applications would something like that have?
Well, the article we've got from the World Economic Forum, they talk about how it could be used for, search and rescue operations. So, like, imagine being able to locate survivors in a collapsed building or a disaster zone.
Right.
They also talk about how it could revolutionize autonomous vehicles, allowing them to navigate even in, the toughest conditions.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's amazing to see how far, robotics and AI have come.
Yeah. But sometimes technology doesn't quite work the way it's supposed to. And that brings us to this next story.
Okay.
Apparently, there's this glitch in Apple's iPhone dictation feature that's causing some confusion. Let's just say that. It seems like in certain cases, the word racist is being transcribed as Trump.
Whoa. That's a weird one. Definitely not what you'd expect, especially considering, Apple's political leanings.
Right. It's pretty ironic, to say the least.
It is.
The article we've got is from Ynet News, and they sort of delve into the potential causes. They say it might be because of how the AI processes, words that sound similar. But it also raises questions about the data that was used to train the AI and whether it could actually be reflecting some, unconscious biases.
It's a good point. It's a reminder that these AI systems are only as good as the data they're trained on. And even the most sophisticated algorithms, they can still make mistakes, sometimes in ways that, reveal some deeper issues.
It definitely gives you pause, and you start to wonder if this seemingly harmless glitch is actually a sign of something a bit more serious. It's definitely something to think about, especially as AI becomes more and more part of our everyday lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really makes you think about, all the potential pitfalls of AI, right? And how
Yeah.
important it is to develop it responsibly. Speaking of pushing boundaries, have you heard about this company, Chemify? They're based in Glasgow, and they're using AI to, completely revolutionize chemistry.
Chemifol, that name rings a bell. What are they doing?
Well, they're basically trying to digitize chemistry. Imagine being able to design and create new molecules just like that, on demand, using AI, robotics, and what they call chemputation.
Okay.
They've even created the world's first chemical programming language.
Hold on, a chemical programming language. That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. How does that even work?
I know, right? It sounds super futuristic, but it's actually real. They're essentially turning code into molecules. The idea is that you could, design a new drug or a new material, even a food product on your computer, and then have a lab synthesize it automatically.
Wow. The possibilities that's mind-blowing. Think about the implications for, like, medicine, manufacturing, agriculture. It could totally change how we approach innovation in so many fields.
Exactly. And they're not just, all talk. They've got some serious backing, including Michael Bell, who used to be an exec at Apple and Intel. He was actually a key player in developing the iPhone.
Oh, wow.
And now he's joined Chemify as their chief technology officer.
That's a huge endorsement. If someone with his experience is betting on Chemify, they must be onto something big.
It seems like AI is finding its way into just about everything these days, from the energy that powers our devices to, like you said, the very building blocks of matter. But hey, let's shift gears for a second and talk about something a little closer to home. Have you seen the new Level 3 electric bike that Aventon just released? It's got some really cool tech in it.
An e-bike. Okay, yeah, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
This isn't just your average e-bike, trust me. Aventon has really focused on security, range, and comfort with this one. It's got a powerful 500W motor, front suspension, and you can go up to 70 miles on a single charge.
70 miles. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
What about the those security features you mentioned? E-bike theft is a real problem these days.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where the Aventon Control Unit, or ACU, comes in. It's kind of like the brain of the bike. It's got
Right.
all these smart features like geofencing, GPS tracking. You can even lock it remotely and set a passcode.
Oh, wow. So like if your bike gets stolen, you can track it down like a lost iPhone.
Exactly.
That would definitely give me some peace of mind.
Yeah, I bet. The ACU gives you that, extra layer of protection and control. You know where your bike is at all times, and you can lock it down if you need to. Plus, it's got 4G connectivity, so you can get all these real-time stats and updates on your bike.
That's pretty cool. It's like the ultimate connected e-bike, right? But let's zoom out from our, earthly commutes for a minute and venture into the realm of space. The Space Development Agency, or SDA, is facing some scrutiny over their laser link technology.
Ah, yes. Laser communication is, well, it's a key part of their vision for this thing they're calling a proliferated warfighter space architecture, which is basically a massive network of satellites in low Earth orbit.
Okay. So they're basically building a giant space internet. What's the advantage of using lasers for communication?
Well, laser links are way faster than traditional radio frequencies. They can transmit data much faster, and they're more secure too. Imagine being able to connect military bases, warships, even fighter jets from anywhere in the world instantly.
That's incredibly ambitious. But what's the holdup? Why are they being scrutinized?
Well, the Government Accountability Office, or GAO, they've raised some concerns about SDA's progress in showing that this technology is reliable. Basically, they're saying, hold on, don't launch a whole network of satellites until you're absolutely sure these laser links are going to work perfectly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh,
It wouldn't be very useful to have a space internet that's constantly dropping out, right?
exactly.
Have they made any progress in testing the technology?
Well, they have demonstrated a laser link connection between a couple of their Trondheim satellites, but the GAO is still waiting to see a successful connection between satellites that use technology from different vendors.
So they need to prove that the system can work across different platforms, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to be interoperable, for the whole network to function properly.
It seems like a classic case of a government agency maybe trying to move a little too fast without, without working out all the kinks first.
It definitely highlights the challenges of, you know, developing and deploying complex technologies, especially in a place as unforgiving as space. Speaking of hiccups in the tech world, did you catch the news about Amazon slashing the price of the M4 Mac Mini?
I did see that. It's pretty unusual for them to drop the price that much on a product that's still relatively new. What do you think is going on?
Well, it could be that they're just clearing out inventory to make room for a new model. Or maybe they're trying to boost sales with a really good deal. Who knows? Either way, it's a great chance to snag an M4 Mac Mini at a discount.
Yeah, especially if you're in the market for a powerful but compact desktop. The M4 Mac Mini is a really solid machine. It's got Apple's latest M4 chip, plenty of RAM, and it can handle, pretty demanding tasks like video editing, music production, that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good reminder of how fast technology moves these days and how companies are always trying to, stay ahead of the curve. This price drop is just one small example of all the bigger forces at play in the tech world.
Exactly. We're seeing the growing importance of AI, cloud computing, cybersecurity. All these trends are shaping the future of technology, creating new possibilities, and, presenting us with new challenges too.
It's a fascinating landscape, really complex, and it's changing all the time. I think the key is to, stay informed, be adaptable, and embrace the unexpected.
Well said. Okay, so for our last segment of this deep dive, I want to explore a few stories that really highlight where technology, society, and politics all intersect. So first up, we've got Apple's decision to remove its advanced data protection feature for customers in the UK.
Ah, yes. This all stems from a disagreement with the UK government over access to user data. Apple has always been, a big advocate for privacy. They argue that encryption is essential for protecting user data from, hackers and other threats.
Right, but the UK government has argued that law enforcement agencies need access to encrypted data to investigate crimes and prevent terrorism.
Exactly. It's this classic clash between privacy and security, and it's playing out all over the world.
Apple's advanced data protection. It provided end-to-end encryption for users' photos, documents, all sorts of sensitive information. Even Apple couldn't access the data.
Right. But the UK government, they wanted Apple to create a backdoor that would allow law enforcement to bypass the encryption.
Oh, wow.
And Apple refused, saying it would weaken security for everyone and make them more vulnerable to attacks.
So rather than, give in to the UK government's demands, Apple just decided to remove the feature for UK customers altogether.
That's right. It's a pretty bold move, and it really highlights that growing tension between tech companies and governments over data privacy.
It's a tough situation. On the one hand, we want our data to be protected, but on the other hand, we also want law enforcement to be able to, do their jobs and keep us safe. It's a difficult balance.
It really is. And there aren't any easy answers. This debate is probably going to go on for years as technology gets even more advanced and the stakes get higher.
It's definitely something we all need to be thinking about as we navigate this, this digital world. Our data is incredibly valuable, and we need to be aware of how it's being collected, how it's being used, and how it's being protected.
Absolutely. Staying informed and advocating for policies that protect our privacy, that's so important. But we also need to make sure that law enforcement can still do their jobs effectively. Speaking of advocating for change, did you see that Google's Pixel Watch 3 just got FDA clearance for a new loss of pulse detection feature?
Oh, yeah, I did hear about that. It sounds like it could be a really, a really important, potential even life-saving feature. How does it work?
Well, the Pixel Watch 3 can now automatically detect if the wearer's pulse stops, and it can actually call emergency services.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I know, right? It could
It-
be incredibly valuable in cases of, like, cardiac arrest, respiratory failure, any kind of medical emergency where every second counts.
It's incredible how technology can be used to, to actually improve our health and well-being.
Yeah, but it's important to remember that technology is just a tool.
Right.
It's all about how we use it.
It's how we use it that really matters.
Mhm.
We need to be thoughtful, responsible, and make sure that it's serving humanity and helping us create a better future.
Couldn't agree more. Now, before we wrap up, there's one more story I wanted to circle back to. Remember that iPhone dictation glitch we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
The one where racist was being transcribed as Trump?
Oh, yeah, yeah. That was a weird one. What's the latest on that?
Well, it definitely caused a bit of a stir on social media. Some people thought it was funny. Others saw it as, evidence of bias in Apple's AI.
Yeah, it was pretty ironic considering Apple's usual stance on things.
The article from Ynet News, they mentioned that the glitch only seemed to happen when racist was typed several times in a row.
Oh, okay.
And Apple has acknowledged the issue, and they're working on a fix.
Do they have any idea why it was happening?
They think it's probably because of how their AI processes words that sound alike. It's a good reminder that AI is still being developed, and these systems, they're not perfect. They can make mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes reflect the biases in the data they were trained on.
Yeah, that's a bit of a sobering thought. Makes you wonder how many other subtle biases are hidden within the AI systems that we use every day.
That's a really good point. And it just underscores how important it is to be critical of these AI systems, and to hold the companies that develop them accountable. We need to make sure that these technologies are fair, they're unbiased, and they're used in a way that benefits everyone.
Absolutely. And with that in mind, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into the world of technology.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's been a wild ride, hasn't it? Innovation, disruption, that whole complex relationship between technology, society, and politics. It's a lot to take in.
It is. We've seen how AI is transforming industries, pushing the boundaries of what's possible, and, raising all these important questions about the future.
We've explored the challenges and the opportunities that come with new technologies, and we've seen how both companies and governments are trying to, grapple with all the implications.
It's an amazing, ever-changing landscape, and it's one that we all need to be a part of.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining us on this journey, everyone, and as always, stay curious, keep learning, and be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into the world of technology.
See you then.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, I wanted to kind of circle back to something we talked about earlier, that whole thing about AI and energy.
Yeah, for sure.
It's such a big deal, right? And it affects all of us. I mean, as AI gets, more powerful, more integrated into our lives, the demand for energy, well, it's just going to keep going up.
Exactly. And data centers, they already use so much of the world's energy. I mean, we need to figure out some sustainable solutions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do, and fast. But the good news is there are so many innovations happening in this area, right? We've talked about, some of the cool tech being developed, from hydrogen fuel cells to those small modular reactors to geothermal even.
It's pretty encouraging to see, so many people putting effort into finding these alternative energy sources.
Definitely.
But it kind of raises some questions too, right?
I like what?
Well, how will these new energy sources be distributed? I mean, are we going to see, more decentralized energy production?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, it's a real possibility, and it actually makes a lot of sense from both an efficiency and a resilience standpoint. I mean, just imagine, data centers powered by a mix of on-site renewables, solar panels, wind turbines, geothermal systems right there.
That would be amazing.
Right.
Not only would it cut down our reliance on fossil fuels,
Yeah.
but it would create a much more robust, decentralized energy grid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it could even have this ripple effect, right? I mean, driving even more innovation
Yeah.
in renewable energy and creating new jobs in that sector.
Exactly.
It's like a win-win, we get to power our AI in a sustainable way, and we create a cleaner, more resilient energy infrastructure for, well, for everybody.
I love that. It's definitely a future we should all be working towards, and it's a perfect example of how technology can be used to create positive change.
Yeah, for sure.
Thinking about it, we've covered so much in this deep dive, from all the crazy advancements in AI, to the challenges of communicating in space, to the ethics of data privacy, to the potential of all these new energy sources. It's been a lot.
It really has.
Hmm.
We've seen how technology can, solve problems, improve our lives,
Right.
even connect us in new ways.
Hmm.
But we've also seen how it brings new challenges and those ethical questions we have to answer.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a constant balancing act, and it requires us to be, informed, engaged, and to really think critically about all these things that are shaping our world.
Absolutely.
The big takeaway for me, though, is that technology is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used, for good or for bad.
Hmm.
It's really up to us to make sure we're using it responsibly and ethically to create a better future. Not just for us, but for the generations that come after us.
So well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into the world of tech.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We hope you found this whole journey, informative and maybe even a little bit thought-provoking.
Yeah, we hope so too. Remember, the future isn't something that just, happens to us. It's something we create. So stay curious, stay informed, stay engaged, because, well, the choices we make today, they're going to shape the world of tomorrow.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks again for listening, everyone.